corners of their history book. But we know the truth cause we've searched and looked to lift our minds off of Europe's hook. And some still don't understand how much strength and willpower it took to get from under their spells and propaganda. And now them a wonder how we so proud and we thy sheepies and we booba. We let them know we were orphaned, but we found our mother. We've been reunited with our lost sisters and brothers. Africa stretches forth her hands to her prodigal sons and daughters, scattered across the water. In this great disaster with him calling Ma'afa that was authored by those dirty, rotten, stinking, I won't say the word, but they tried to kill every last semblance of African spirit and skin. But destiny must unfold, prophecy must fulfill. Emancipation is a mountain, it's a real steep hill, and to get to the top for we is such a thrill. That's why from Cape Town to Cairo, Barbados to Brazil, no matter where we were taken, we are Africans still, and we will heal those emotional scars, and we will reclaim everything that's ours, and we will retake our place amongst the stars, and we will redeem our ancestors.
Greetings, Hotep. Welcome yet again to another live broadcast of Building Legacy. Say it again one more time. Welcome, greetings to another live broadcast of Building Legacy, where we have an opportunity to share with our illustrious, empowered activists in some arenas, community developers all around, leaders, those that carry a humble spirit with a large stick though, from both sides of the Atlantic. It is always an honor and a privilege to be joined with an ever so illustrious co-host, African Queen Mother Warrior, majestic, illuminating, loving beyond measure, yet fierce, Sister Dr. SandRa Richards. Let's welcome our illustrious Sister Dr. SandRa Richards.
Ashe.
Thanks. I am giving thanks for another day, for a moment, and for the opportunity to once again be alongside my most amazing, great, grand, divine, gracious high priestess, wise one, beloved African Queen Mother Warrior, Senate Dr. ChenziRa. I am so buzzing. Give thanks. Give thanks. We are here again. We are here again. By the grace of the Most High, we are here again. Some people didn't make it to today. We are on the shoulders of great ones. And we have such an amazing, phenomenal discussion, conversation gonna happen with our guests. Senate Doctor, do you want to say what Building Legacy is about? Because
you know, it's so interesting because sometimes I find that it becomes like a extremely engaging academic exercise of Building Legacy represents the following: an interdisciplinary approach to transcultural media that allows for conversations, actions, and solution-focused perspectives on global affairs from the Caribbean, Europe, Eurasia, Africa, all of the Americas in the world. In real time, though, building legacy has actually one manifested into a reasoning where we get to speak truth to power around what we are doing collectively around the globe. And we're showing the synergy that is so ancestral and contemporary, that is so respectful, with integrity and divine on a daily basis, not just the particular highlights of activities we're involved in, but what is the work that you do all the time? That is something that's going to help to build the legacy so that our children's children do not have to go through all of the Isfetian opposite of Ma'at, chaotic, outright terrorism that they've been exposed to. That's the more authentic version of the work.
Because, you know, I love that. I love, I'm gonna play this and just watch that little bit there. I know that for certain. What is this about? This is not just an academic exercise, because there's some people out there going into these establishments and getting certificates and being called all kinds of things. But when it comes to the real deal, they're not warrior activists. They're not changing life. They're not building legacy. And I don't want to badmouth them, but I do want to pay attention to the ones who are.
Exactly. I like that line. We want to pay attention to the ones that are. I love that. I love that. So that's why when we start to reason, it becomes really important for each and every one of us, because we're looking to actually glean and share and exchange. What are the things that you're doing that we can contribute to? What are the things that we're doing that you can contribute to? Because sometimes in this work, it feels like you by yourself in your space all alone, like forever till eternity. Amen. And that's not how we go. We have a little more support, actually a lot more support than we even imagine. And so this particular broadcast facilitates our ability to do so.
Can I introduce?
We work on not getting, because we both get, I think you could tell, we both get a little animated, but it's a good animation.
Yeah. And, the Academy has to learn that, there are people in it that are spirited and ancestrally guided. And when we go in there, we don't lose ourselves and become someone else. Because you see, when you put a cat in a oven, it doesn't become a cake. The Africans. So we having an conversation as Africans who have a particular perspective across the water. So the introduction, we welcome our illustrious guests with us. We do. So
I'm going to let you start with Dr. Agbetu, who's going to probably remind me to just call him brother. But it's in my mindset, because when I'm thinking of the divine reveler. So I don't just see it as DR, DOCTOR. I'm always seeing it as the divine reveler, because you're reveling in certain things and you're revealing things, and you're a divine revolutionary. And that is DR.
So I am thrilled. I am thrilled and humbled to introduce to our viewers and our listeners and our guests someone I call a dear friend, dear friend, Brother Dr. Toyin Agbetu. Let me say that again.
You warned me. You warned me this was going to happen.
I was going to gush. I did. I said I was going to gush. And it's no secret. I mean, his wife knows that I love him. I love her too. But I'm just, Brother Dr. Toyin Agbetu describes himself as a community educator. He's also the founder of Legali, a UK-based Pan-African human rights-based organization. As an activist, collective, and actually, he's the member of very many different African, Pan-African human rights organizations. He adopts a scholar activist approach to challenging Afrophobia and the misrepresentation of African people, culture, and history in the media and public spaces. Brother Dr. Toyin is an independent filmmaker and neo-museologist dedicated to social justice, critical pedagogy, and decoloniality. Now, I haven't said that right. I know, because I was like, basically, he is doing what Adrian Green, which is the boss, and make them African-centered. Let us position ourselves in the right place and remove the remnants and the impact of colonialism. Basically, put us into recovery. His doctoral expertise in institutional activism grants him the practical skills to actively reframe Britain's cultural institutions as powerful engines of radical social transformation. Now, that was the piece that I wanted to read, but what I want to say is, this is an African king without apology, who moves among us and dares to disrupt anything, any space that disrespects the African in this time and in times that have gone past and in times to come. Now, that sounded like it's impossible. I want you to know that Brother Toyin, Brother Dr. Toyin, is a revolutionary. He is an activist, and he is a serious spiritual brother in this time. So please join me in welcoming my friend, our friend, Brother Dr. Toyin Agbetu.
That's how we do. That's that academic enough? I think that was academic enough. You think? I think that changed up. Yes, there we go. We can resume formal engagement, but for the purposes of this program, again, remember cow building legacy. You know, okay.
Yeah. See, the thing is, while he catches his breath, because he's a very humble brother, we have to lift ourselves up. Because we live in a time where everyone, everywhere, countries, nations, institutions are tearing down the African person. Our biggest crime is living while Black. So we must lift each other up. We must put so much love on each other that it gives us a barrier nothing can penetrate. Have you caught your breath yet, brother?
Yes, I have. I'm not going to pretend that I am blushing. And Sister Doctor, as ever, the love is reciprocated. And Senate Doctor ChenziRa, thank you for welcoming me into the space. I feel honored, and I know we're going to introduce our Dr. Tisa, so I will wait for that. It's very interesting to have an education even in the introduction. I've never heard of the phrase divine revolutionary to describe the DR. And so now I have to meditate on that, and I have to see whether and how that can be embraced and absorbed into my consciousness and psyche, because I struggle wearing any Eurocentric title. So now that we have reshaped it, I kind of like that, and it's a gift. So I give thanks, even if the one thing, you know, and I know we've got many other gifts that we're going to share amongst ourselves this evening, but that's one fantastic gift to start off. The idea of working to become a divine revolutionary, which I am in the presence of, and I acknowledge this evening. So I'm going to be quiet for a moment now and allow you, if you could please introduce your next guest, because I'm still a bit shy about all that. I can't lie.
I'm looking forward to the introduction of this divine queen, Dr. Tisa. Oh, please.
was letting you have your moment because when
We have another queen with us. We have another queen warrior with us. So thank you so much, Senate Doctor. You are so gracious with me.
we try because that's what we're supposed to do. And that's really how we balance. We're both doing some pretty serious work, and our intentions have always been to support one another and to hold one another up and to keep strength when we can to the best of our ability. Because, like you said, we are living in a time where anything African, Black, conscious, powerful is being crushed, murdered, raped, lynched, and whatever other term that we want to add to that conversation is what is taking place. So while our beloved sister, Dr. Tisa, is returning, I'm going to use a very general, I'm going to first reference what is available on her website. And I always tell persons, it's good to look at persons' websites so you get like the general scope of who they are as the CEO and founder of a Phoenix Rising Wellness Institute. Dr. Tisa Muhammad has experience as a holistic naturopathic physician, therapist, practitioner, par excellence with a doctorate in natural medicine, which includes homeopathy, orthomolecular medicine, nutritional, and vibrational medicine. She is also a certified holistic nutritional counselor, a certified clinical iridologist, spiritual reader, womb wellness warrior, consultant, and restorative light coach. She uses color, sound, light, music, aromatherapy, and mudras for assisted healing. She is a medical intuitive. Pause on that for a minute. A medical intuitive, womb wellness consultant, fibroid birther, and performs both distance and proximal spiritual surgery and wellness life coaching. Breathe on that, family. She is a mother. I want to come back to that one because I've met the children. She is a mother, queen mother. Highlight.
By her name.
So I'm just saying. And in her spare time, she enjoys singing, writing wonderful poetic verse, and providing just counsel. She's always ever present to provide the healing, the support, the listening ear, and that very direct and powerful shoulder that many of our African Queen Mother warriors in the world bring to the table with our family. As I said, she's one of my illustriously powerful sistrins as well. And I am so honored to be able to introduce Dr. Tisa Muhammad of a Phoenix Rising Wellness Institute.
Greetings.
Welcome.
Welcome. It's good to have me. I'm so happy to be here. I'm honored to be here, especially for the sake of those listening, and also with our fellow brother, Toyin. I'm so honored, with everything I'm trying to do at this moment and present. At a time like this, we have so much going on. It's really to be alive, to be able to share the truth.
Mm-hmm. Okay, it's okay. That's okay because there's forces that probably were a little bit nervous. So it's okay. When she comes back in, we'll continue.
Right. Give thanks. The audio was a little bit off, but I know it's going to get better because Senate Dr. ChenziRa isn't just gorgeous. She is divinely ordained and technically able, and this is not going to prevail. We're going to
fight. It's going to have to work. It's like we must win.
And I would just say while that's being sorted out, I saw Queen Mother, beloved Queen Mother, Sister Dr. Tisa. I did a bit of research and I've heard you speak. And I know of your works. I know of your healing. I've heard you speak about the consultations you've done, the healing that you've brought upon the people. I sat in awe. That one single African woman could do all of these things and still be a messenger of the Most High and still have children and still be a cultural warrior, like using all of the dynamics, the dimensions, color, food. And I said, listen, I have to be here. Even if I wasn't supposed to be here, I was going to be here today. We give thanks.
Definitely we do. And that's why I always encourage persons the same way that I encourage persons to look at the Gali site. It's important that you look at these different sites so that you can see. You can go to aprwi.com to just learn a little bit more about the work that Dr. Tisa Muhammad has been involved in. And it's not something she's done that's new. She's had, she has a significant amount of experience in this arena and is providing these services wherever while she's based in Canada as we speak. And as I had mentioned earlier, and I always try to highlight those sites for persons to just be really engaged. If you did not get the site before, then make sure that you look at the site for Legali so that you can also get some information about the work that our illustrious Dr. Agbetu has been involved, continues to be involved in. So you can go to ligali.org, and that way you can see what they've done, some of the different fora, some of the ways you can provide support, some of the programs that exist, because this is what we're speaking about when we say building legacy. How do you build legacy if you don't know who's already started some things? I mean, you could start your own wheel. I'm not saying you can't start your own wheel, but I'm just saying, wouldn't you like to get like at least a few extra spokes and some rubber to start? So that's what we're doing. We're making sure that we go to where we can support things that exist so that we can bring our skills, talents, and expertise and share that, in a very good harmony. While we're navigating, and I hope, are you able to speak, Sister Dr. Muhammad?
Yes, ma'am. Can you hear me?
I can hear you very well now. So let's just do it like that. That'll be fine.
Yes, ma'am. I'm sorry. I'm in it appears to be a really bad signaling area here, but I'm going to try my best for my signal not to keep cutting in and out. Okay. I'm in my office at this time. Yes, ma'am. But I'm here. And once again, as I was saying, I'm very, very honored and I'm very thankful to be here and for us to be present at a time to speak to various issues as are necessary. It's a blessing, truly a blessing from the Creator. And, the Most High is allowing us to walk through some treacherous times, and we're navigating it smoothly, because we have the directives of many who are in our midst, who are tuning.
That was powerful. That are tuning.
That's one of the things that is happening, this cutting in and out. It's almost like a timing.
Okay, don't worry about it. We give no energy. Just keep moving, because certain things I can just go from here, other things are from the area, so it's fine. And
that's true.
Right.
And I guess if they're getting the 5G towers, they're getting these towers coordinated properly for the people, right?
Right.
But nonetheless, so it's a blessing though. But thank you once again, sister. I'm so happy to be a part of any and everything that you are engaged in, because I know it comes from the heart. And, anything from the heart of our people is going to help us to grow and flourish. So I'm very, very thankful.
Give thanks, inshallah. With that being said, I would encourage my beloved sister, Dr. SandRa, to welcome in and usher those commentaries, that engagement from our illustrious brethren, Dr. Agbetu.
I give thanks. Just to let you know, Senate Doctor, that something's happened with your mic as well. I think there's wind. I'm not sure what's happening as you're speaking. But in the meantime, I would like to just, now that I'm over, kind of like I'm calmer and I'm centered and I'm more grounded than I was at the beginning, rather, beloved Brother Dr. Toyin, could you introduce yourself to the people? And the reason why I'm asking you to do that is because I know that a number of people will know your name. Not everybody, because this is a global broadcast. So some people may be wondering why I would be gushing. And some people may know of you as a filmmaker, or as a academic, or as a father. Could you say something about who you are and how you came to the attention of yourself first, before you came to the attention of anyone else? You came to the attention of yourself because you started this activism work before anybody knew your name. So something must have happened. How did you step into being a warrior, scholar, activist? We have time.
Thanks. You know, I struggle to talk about myself in that way, but I appreciate the invitation.
Building legacy,
yes,
and you are a beloved elder in the African village. You must say who you are so that we can see who you are.
Good, thanks. Sister Doctor, your wisdom is always there. No, I appreciate it. And it is about building legacy. Okay, so I'm still saying, I am Dr. Brother Toyin Agbetu.
Yes.
That's probably the first time I've actually said that in public. I am a community educator, scholar activist, filmmaker, father. I'm an artist more than anything, because it's my creative energies that people underestimate that actually enable me to do the things that I do, because that taps into my spiritual self. But I'm a complete nerd. So this is the bit that where the scholar activist intersects with academia. So I am a stickler for detail. I'm a stickler for facts, but at the same time, I believe in spirit. I believe in a creator. I believe in the essence of African people being eternal, regardless of what anybody tries to do to destroy us. It's hard to say, what have I done? No, you asked my genesis. Okay, so I think my genesis, the starts of when I saw myself, I was a musician for a long time, recording tracks and music and releasing really spiritually empty products. You know, people would dance to them, they'd buy them. I was quite successful, but they had no lyrics of consciousness, because I wasn't at that level at that time, reached level of consciousness. I think that consciousness arrived with the birth of my first son, when I looked into his eyes and I realized that I had been part of bringing him to this realm. And, you know, I know people have different beliefs, but I believe that he didn't ask to be brought here. I brought him here, his mother and I. And so I had a responsibility to, before I become an ancestor, to leave this place in a more beautiful place for him. I have 2 other children since then, and that mission has not changed. So there's a part of me that feels like it's almost like a selfish realization, because it's been motivated by my children. And of course, as I've grown, the other intersections have come into my consciousness. And I meet people on my journey who don't have children, and they have a level of awareness and of righteousness. And I'm in awe of them, because I'm thinking to myself, you know, you have reached this point, and you know you're completely selfless on that journey. So I'm always interrogating these kind of things. But where I am now, I'm quite comfortable and quite happy. It's quite strange. I was listening to your first program, and it was almost as if you were Sister Doctor and Senate Doctor ChenziRa. You were residing in my head, because I'm at the phase in my life where I am doing succession work. And so I know this program is called Building Legacy, but I am actively now encoding the work of Legali to survive my transcendence into the next realm. I am going to become an ancestor. We are all going to become ancestors at some stage. And so that's part of the journey that I am actually in. So, you know, I don't believe in coincidences. So the way that the universe has worked to bring us together at this particular time for me is quite amazing. It's quite it's quite edifying spiritually, and yeah, I'm still blushing because I can't talk about myself. I can answer questions, but I just can't. I can't sit and talk about myself. I'm not good at that. But this is unfortunately. I hear we are always run down and put down, and we need to be able to gush praise on others. And I completely agree. I just struggle.
That's fine. That's fine. You know, humility is strength. It is strength, and I think recognizing the qualities that we have and the areas that we're comfortable are part of what we need to do to be able to navigate this space. Because if we act like we're comfortable with something and we're not, it will be seen. So I really give thanks for you saying that. I also want to congratulate you on becoming a doctor, because I know it's a relatively recent in a Eurocentric institution, but you've been a professor for years. so it's interesting because you have been teaching, and as you say, you pay attention to detail. You have been teaching and exposing and bringing people with you for a long time. I have been fortunate enough to sit in spaces where you have been exposing things. You have been fearless. You have been making films to document how the injustice is manifesting, and you have brought in facts, figures, statistics. You have put a spotlight in a way that many of us haven't. So we see the thing and we'll talk about the thing, but what you have been doing for years is building a library. You have been contributing to the education that Africans in the world need. And they've been accessible by many of us. In fact, I'm not even going to ask you the question because I think it's a little bit rude, but how you've been able to budget for that and afford to do that is beyond me, because the price of being an activist and a high-class grassroots activist, let me just say that again, a high-class grassroots activist, because some people think that those of us who work grassroots level, where the rubber meets the road, like SisDr, Dr. Tisa, and Dr. ChenziRa, we work among the people, and other ones would look on us and think that we are not as we're not as esteemed, or, you know, we're not as whatever, because we're not just sitting in ivory towers. We move among the people, we call out injustices, we disrupt the algorithm that says if you're an academic, you should just write. We believe that being a mother, being a father, being a sister, being a child of Africa, having an experience, speaking up is part of what we should be doing. And so
oh, excuse me. Sir.
So yeah,
Thanks.
and you know,
can I get it? Amen. Okay, you see where I'm highlight these things. Okay.
Yeah. No.
This is why I love Dr. ChenziRa, because the African way of being hasn't left us.
Yeah.
It hasn't left us. In Africa, you will sit and hear people speaking. Call and response is a thing.
Yeah.
Spiritual intervention is a thing. It happens when it happens.
That's right.
And we do not shun. We do not speak behind the back of. We do not feel embarrassed when an African woman cries out or an African man cries out in death, in birth, in joy, in sorrow, in academia. We cry out. So, for those of you who think it's business as normal, the Eurocentric model has been disrupted because African people are back in our right mind. And guess what? We also bring in spirit. So, do you want to catch your breath while I bring in beloved Queen Mother, Sister Dr. Tisa?
Could I just answer this one thing that you asked, because you said it might sound a bit crass, so you said you didn't want to do that, and I love you dearly for that. I never worry about talking about crude things like money. I'm always broke, so I don't feel no shame about it. I don't. When I say broke, I don't mean it in a horrible way. I mean, the point I'm trying to say is that part of my journey as a musician, I was quite successful, and so money wasn't an issue. And then I realized I was going to go into liberation work, and that decision I had to accept would come with some penalties. I'm not saying that's the right way, and it will always be that way. But when people ask, how do I do these things? How do I make films and documentaries? How do I finish my doctorate? How do I fund all these things? I don't know. What I do know is that when I'm doing righteous work, my wife, my sister, my children, my family, my friends, my community, whatever, they're all spiritually saying you will succeed. They're all making these spiritual donations. They're depositing it in there and depositing, and I can't see it. And then what happens when I'm at that moment when I'm like, my God, I need another £1,000, or this film's going to just flop. You know, I open up my email, and then, my God, there's £750 in there something. Or there's a £50 check in the post, or there's a card. I could tell you stories that are impossible, that shouldn't have happened, but they happen. And so I just kneel before the ancestors, I say, I share, and I continue on with the work. Now, I'm not saying it's a comfortable living in the sense that you have a level of precarity. You don't know what's going to happen next, but I know my purpose. So I'm not unhappy living my purpose. I feel blessed that I have a clarity that my work is for our people. So so the issue about money and reward and all these kind of, I'm not going to be, I want to be comfortable. I want my children to be comfortable. I want my friends and my family and my community to be comfortable. But we have to also thrive. Right now, we're in survival mode. And I struggle with this idea that we are just meant to just exist. And one thing I teach some of my closest friends, and you know, it's an uncomfortable saying I have. I say to people that sometimes you have to understand that we're essentially dying from the moment we're born. And so for me, in my worldview, the mission is not about death. I know that I'm going to become an ancestor. It's about living. And that means that while we are living in this existence on this plane, we must have a righteous life. Our life must have meaning. It must connect to other spirits. It must do something, or else we're just existing. And so we have a right not just to survive, which is what others would have us do, survive, be enslaved, to donate to their well-being at the cost of our own, but we have the right to thrive. And so that's why I don't equate money in that same way. Loads of money does not bring happiness, you know, and this is the myth that we've been internalizing for a long time. We need resources. We live under a capitalist paradigm. So I'm not going to pretend that money isn't useful at this present moment in time. It's very useful, but it doesn't mean we can't achieve. We can achieve amazing things, you know, if we listen to spirit. So I just want, you know, I give thanks for the opportunity to talk about it. I don't talk about that because most people struggle, and you've created a space where I feel that I can actually share something which you know, in Eurocentrism is probably madness. And I lean into my insanity, if that's what you want to call it.
I love it.
It's a safe space to be, because part of what you're sharing and what we hear Sister Dr. SandRa as well as Sister Dr. Tisa share are techniques and strategies that we've been navigating through, because sometimes if you have too much, persons will just group you into, you know, you're a capitalist, you're this, you're that, and not understand, and I mean under intentional, that there are limitations in these systems, in these constructs that they've created. And I speak of the they in that very wide they, because it's probably the 0.1%, not 1%, but the 0.1% that have made their charge to control and manipulate everything that happens on the earth plane. And that's a lot to contend with when it's attempting to control and dismantle more than 7 billion people. So when we're able to reconnect to our soul self and begin to change how we engage in our social constructs, whether it's, you know, in an academic setting or in a corporate setting, they're actually the same. You know what I'm saying? Wherever that is, that we're able to then bring that ancestral sovereignty, bring that sanctified grounding of African ancestral spirituality in a contemporary space. And it's, you know, sometimes I'll use myself as an example, and Sister Dr. SntDr can giggle and laugh about this. So in my regular work office, one of the challenges is that I always keep aromatherapy in the space. So from the minute you come to the door, you're whether it's on guard or some type of lavender or some type of mint, and especially in these times, to just kind of dissipate what is the composition of the air that people are even breathing when they come into this workspace. And it used to throw persons off. I believe that, and I have been a collector of dolls since I was young, and I have them from everywhere. And I have a very intensive collection of African dolls coming out of our Caribbean experience in Central and South America, and of course the continent. And I could see that that could frighten some people. You walk into what you think is a academic office and you're seeing all of these dolls all over the place, but they are guardians, and they are cultural heritage preserving guardians. And we spend time helping people to see that just in a corporate space. I mean, it's a Caribbean cultural center. So you should see art, and you should see crafts that are made by hand, and you should see things that are reflective of our experience, and it should be unapologetic. However, I could recall when Sister Doctor was so kind to include us in part of her Global Tribe project, that some of my colleagues, as well, not so much my students, but definitely some of my colleagues, were a little bit surprised to see this very humble, quite petite sister come. When she spoke to the body, they weren't prepared for that. They just weren't prepared for that. I don't know what they were prepared for. Well, I thought you said that she came from a particular academy in the university. She seems very strong, very. What did you say her background was again? I'm just saying, because we were, you know, we're kind of put in a frame of this is what it should look like. And what we're beginning to do, or I should say, continuing to do, is to stay within our truth, justice, order, balance, divine righteousness, reciprocity, harmonious spaces of Ma'at, and be able to do that with that divine intelligence of Jehuti, and with those blessed and divine measures of Sesheta, and all the other guardians that are essential for us to become whole again, and to do it together. So that's one.
Oh.
Okay. This
My
is what
sister's-
happens sometimes. That's okay. That's okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So whilst Senate Doctor's internet tries a thing and does not succeed, can I invite you, beloved Queen Mother, Sister Dr. Tisa, to introduce yourself to the audience? As I said, I did some research, so I know how phenomenal you are. But can you introduce us to how you came to be doing this very powerful work that you are doing?
You know, Sister, quite frankly,
Okay, so this is going to be very interesting. Can you hear me, Sister Dr. Tisa? There's something going on with the internet.
I'm going to shift from the camera, go straight to the mic, because it seems to keep cutting off with the camera on at the same time with the signal being weak. We're here.
Okay, just bring the audio, please.
Yes, dear. Okay. So what I was saying, sister, and can you hear me? Want to make sure I'm clear, hopefully.
Yes, absolutely.
Oh, beautiful, wonderful. The main thing that I would share with you, I had no intention on doing medicine. As much as it fascinated me, it was not the goal. My goal in life was more law. So my focus was honed on the.
Okay.
Yeah, it's kind of
Okay.
when I was speaking, when I wasn't speaking, it was on, and now all of a sudden it's cutting in and out. But
I think,
nonetheless, we'll forge
Sister,
forward. Yes, sir.
Dr. Tisa, Dr. Tisa, I think we had to sometimes recognize the internet's not meant to carry this much spiritual energy. So, it's going to struggle to calibrate us as we're sharing our knowledge. So, but the last thing I heard you saying is that this wasn't your intended journey. You didn't know you was going to be along this path. So please, fascinated to hear your story.
Yeah, that's correct, brother. Very last thing that I do medicine was law, and the medicine part is my mother. Also an ancestral calling, my mother's the one who just knew I should do it. In a sense, I resisted, and then all of a sudden it just seemed like I was doing it all the time, like everything else I've been doing. Same with teaching. I did not want to teach, and now it seems like I'm preparing to teach the natural medicine and teach more of an ancestral way of healing as according to what I've been given spiritually. So I'm following the calling. Many times we want to do what we would like to do, and then we discover that we are called to a higher purpose, and we have to submit our process to that. So in building legacy, for me, I love what you said, brother, Dr. Toyin, because to me, building legacy for me is really ultimately understanding that we do have to walk in righteousness. We have to walk in peace. We have to be in unity, and we have to lead with love. Everything we do has to be predicated by love. And some people think love is something that is just, some little small time, little moof and mushy thing. Love is the dedication and the passion that you have to causes, and that you're willing to really truly die for, right? Lay your life on. And for me, just being able to see the liberation of a people and the elevation of a people, and dedicating myself to the cause of this education of a people and of all people, being able to bring to them the insight in the power that we all have the ability to heal ourselves. We have the ability to make that which we see in our minds a reality, because thought travels at the rate of 24 billion miles per second. So we have the power in our thoughts to recreate and regenerate new world, a new mind, a new universe. All of this, it's in our hands, but we have to accept the challenge of being greater than we ever believed ourselves to be. In other words, accepting our own and being ourselves, right? There's something that I love to think about, and it was given to me by one of my spiritual fathers, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, where he spoke about something that the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad told him when he was young in his ministry. He told him, he said, when you discover who you are, you won't be able to hold yourself down.
Hey!
That's what he told him. So I am excited, Sister Dr. SntDr, when I see your joy.
Beloved,
yes.
Please say that again. Because people don't know what's up with us. What you just explained was what's up with us. So please
That's right.
What it was you just...
that's what's up. I recognize it. When I saw that, I said, yeah, I get it. I know that energy. He said to the most Honorable Elijah Muhammad said to the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, he said, brother, when you discover who you are, you won't be able to hold yourself down. Yes. So this is what it is with us. It is our inability when you discover your purpose, the purpose for which God has made you and I, that we can no longer hold ourselves down. And anybody who's in the way, you're going to pull a quick ludicrous on them. It's going to be like, move, get out the way, right? You'll immediately move people out of the way. So we are in the legacy and the pathway of writing this legacy. And to me, what kind of legacy do you want to leave behind? You see, for me, my goal is an indelible one, meaning one that cannot be scratched out of time. You know, you want to leave something behind that can be read for generations long after you may have forgotten yourself. They will never forget you. You get what I mean? You want to leave something indelible. So leaving something indelible means it cannot be predicated or laid out on a foundation that is based on money. It cannot be on anything that is based on the frivolities of this world. It has to be based on the love. It has to be based on the righteousness. It has to be based on something that will lift humanity as a whole. In other words, you can't be a
Beloved, your voice has dropped out. Please come back in.
She's coming.
I'm back. In other words, you cannot have a nationalistic thought process. Everything has to be a universalist. In fact, I'll go as far as to say a womb universalist thought process. You know, womb universal. And Dr. ChenziRa knows that is the term I coined back in the 90s. Womb universal, womb universe. I shared it with Queen as well, and Queen shared it with the world pretty much, and I'm hearing it everywhere. But womb universal, you see, womb universal is not just universal. It is looking at the aspect of us and what is born in our mind's eye. What is born in our mind's eye that we bring into existence. It is that universal principle. It's womb universal. So that which is unseen, unknown, it's in the darkness of time, but it manifests itself at the time when it is called into light, when it's supposed to be called into existence. We bring it forth because of that love that's there. You know, it's that feminine principle of creation that is continually perfecting everything, you know. So when I look at this legacy indelibly that we will be leaving behind us, we're writing this every single day. You know, some of us are leaving legacies that are, you know, the little the whiteboard marker, you know, the little one that could easily be wiped off with a little tissue. You could probably even blow it off or you brush it off and half the letter's gone, you know. Some of us are writing those types of legacies because we are not allowing them to be to exist in and to grow within a realm of love. We are growing them in a realm that is all surrounded by monetary gain and greed, you know, and stealing people's work and plagiarism, right? And that's the stuff that just kind of gets, you could blow against that stuff. You ever notice? You could just kind of blow it. A little baby can walk up to it and just wipe the thing off. It's gone. That's the kind of legacy many of us leave when we leave it based on that foundation. And so every day we're writing a legacy. So every day we should be focusing on humanity. And every day, every moment of the day, every millisecond of the day, whenever you have an opportunity to do something, your mind.
Okay. Are you there?
Yes. Whatever you walk, speak, and do should be done purposefully, deliberately, and on purpose. And that to me is building that legacy. So I'm really challenging those who are listening, you know, to ask ourselves, what legacy You know, what I like to leave behind. What do you want them to speak over your life celebration, family? You know some of those funerals you attend and the preacher's making stuff up, you know? The preacher's making everything up. You know, he started dancing so he can distract the crowd, so he can think about more lives. You know, he can't think of a damn. Go ahead, sis.
Yeah, it's okay. I'm being touched by so many things that you're saying.
Yes.
When you are leaving an indelible legacy, that is one that cannot be wiped away. It's the same for me as what Brother King, Dr. Toyin is saying around institutionalizing or it's purpose work. We are preparing for when we will not be walking on the earth in the way that we're currently walking on the earth.
Yes.
So now building something that will exist even outside of us and beyond our earth years. What is interesting to me as well is the reference that we make is it's not a casting or a passing reference to spirit. We're talking about spirit being at the center of what we do. We're talking about something that won't leave us alone. We're talking about something that if we don't do it, we don't feel well. That's what we're talking about. It won't leave us alone. And as Brother Doctor says, there are moments when you think, wow, this is huge. I may be somewhat overwhelmed or, I'm not sure where to go. And then there is this phrase that comes into my head that I was introduced to as an adult, which is let go and let God. Do you know what I mean? Like yield. Just stay on purpose, do what you were directed to do divinely, and the other detail will be dealt with. So when you've completed it and people ask you how you did it, you could genuinely say, I don't know exactly the detail. I just know ancestrally. I just know divinely. I just know I've got to keep giving thanks. I've got to stay on purpose. If I don't stay on purpose, I'm not going to feel well. And the other earthlings, let's call them earthlings, people who are not, maybe they haven't ignited the spirit or they don't have the confidence to walk in that, will watch you and wonder what you're doing. Why are you doing that? What you're doing is crazy. How are you going to do that? Why do you have a 6-month plan? Do you have a year plan? Do you have a 5-year plan? No, we have ancestral, we're given ancestral guidance and direction. We are divinely called to do this. This happens to us. We don't happen to it. That's where we are. And so let me ask you, beloved Brother King, the idea of submitting and yielding, the idea of the ancestors speaking to you when you're going about your business, minding your own business. Like you're with everybody else, minding your own business, and then all of a sudden, you're reminded you're supposed to do this film, you're supposed to do this thing, you're supposed to and not to ignore your beloved queen, who I love dearly. I got to call her name, Sister Queen Oleander. I've got to call her name because I know when it's late at night or dark or wet or damp, or there will be people around making sure you have a drink, you have encouragement, they will pass a word with you. When you miserable as sin, they still there, gracious, take your word. When you can't make it to parents' evening, they just holding it down until you return because they know you're doing that purpose work. But tell me about when spirit speaks to you, because some people won't know when we talk about Ma'at, when we talk about Ubuntu, when we talk about, when we talk about things, they have no idea what we're talking about. They don't know what we're doing. Can you say something about that? Because in building legacy, we need to help Africans return to being Africans. The Eurocentric system does a good job of trying to school every piece of us out of ourselves. And we have a duty to say, well, this is what it looks like. Let's normalize being African, because that's what we are, and the Most High doesn't make mistakes. So can you say something about purpose and spirit and submitting and yielding, and so that people coming up will get it, they will understand.
No, I mean,
Brother Dr. Toyin talk about this.
no, I mean, thank you. And Dr. T, so can you hear me?
Yes, I was just welcoming back my illustrious co-host. I see her beauty.
Good to see you again, SntDr. Good to see you here. And I told you that the internet's not designed for this amount of spiritual energy. You might crash Amazon. So like, we've got to be careful. I'm not saying that's a bad thing, actually. Okay. How can I answer that? How can, I mean, what, you know, yourself, Dr. I mean, these words are this is my soul food. This is the things that keep me going. Let me start with one thing. Back on and I'm going to answer the question specifically on what SntDr spoke of about her dolls in her office. So it's often because of lockdown, I sit here and I teach students from all over the world, different institutions. I'm training people, this kind of thing. Inside this room, one second, is my Morpheus. Okay, now I'm a nerd. Yeah, so I might be talking to people in government. I might be talking to people in my office. I don't care. My Morpheus, my doll, stays in this room because for whatever it is, it keeps me grounded. So you ask, how do I submit to ancestral guidance, ancestral spirit? I think, and that's the reason why I want to use it as an example, is because we've been sold a myth, African people worldwide. In fact, it's not just African people, it's a global myth. We've been sold that, you know, there's this one, and that one is the only person who can do everything. And, you know, you should be the one, you know, you are worth it. You're an individual and you've got to be the best and everything like, and it's a complete lie. You know, it does the worst things for human beings. It feeds ego on a level that is so dangerous and so toxic that what happens, we all start to create our own little universes and worlds rather than talking about what Dr. Tisa was playing. And you said the womb of us, you know, this whole idea that we are all blessed. We are all capable and linked in this world. I have to, my African spirituality means I have to embrace the spirituality of even my enemies. I might not bring them into my home, and I might have to punish them, or, you know, or inflict discipline when they're being naughty, but I don't ever reject that they have a spiritual dimension towards them. I just think that they don't listen to it and they abuse it. So this whole idea about their idea of oneness, this whole thing about everyone being individual, the ego being the most important thing, is unhealthy. It's healthy to have an ego. It's not healthy to be guided and overinflated by the ego. And so to answer the question for myself is that I am quite comfortable not trying to be Neo in the Matrix. People that keep telling me, Toyin, you're the one, you're the one, you're the one. And I'm like, no, I'm not. I'm happy just to help free those minds. I can sit down and reason and logic and share what I've learned. I make a whole load of mistakes, but I'm always talking the truth from my perspective, from honesty. And if you want to join me in the work I'm doing, cool. If you don't, that's cool. We ain't going to fall out on that unless you attack me, because I'm not a turn the other cheek kind of brother. But other than that, I'm cool. And so how that works in context of ancestral realm is that I don't see my life in this physical experience that I'm having. And I learned that from yourself, Sister Doctor. You speak about I'm the spirit having this physical experience and the plane that we're living in right now. And that's something you used to say, you know, I don't know, from the moment I first met you. And it germinated and it infused within my body, and I had to own it. I had to kneel down and understand or overstand what that meant, and I do now. And it means that my actions, anything I do, are meaningless unless they're connected to everyone else's. They have to, we are our global collective. And so even though nationality and, you know, community and tribes and, you know, my country is this, and it might be okay for sports, it might be a bit of fun, a bit of competition. I'm not into competition personally. I believe in collaboration, but I get it. You know, human spirit likes that little fun every now and then. I mean, I play a warrior, I play chess, so there is a level of competition in those things. I recognize that in the greater scheme, we are one, we are united. And that means I'm not just united in the physical realm, but I am connected to the ancestral realm. And even though I am a scientist, I'm not going to ever lean away from my scholarly credential. I like to say scholarly as opposed to academic, because, you know, there are good parts of the academy and then there are toxic parts. Well, scholarly is what I was until this April. Until April, when I got the letters after my name, they ignored my expertise. And then somehow I'm just magically a doctor. So it's, you know, it's another discussion for another day. Yeah. But when you're connected and you recognize you're connected to the ancestors and that they live in, through, and around us continuously, then the trick is to learn how to listen to them. And that's difficult because there's so much noise around us. And so I think the only way, and it's a personal worldview, I think that you have to learn to have humility. You have to learn to silence your mind, silence your ego, and be receptive to receiving messages that you might not agree with, but are in your best interests. It's also recognizing that there are mischievous elements around us as well. We have agency. I'm not saying, you know, everything that comes to our mind. When we live in Western nations, for example, in the UK and America, lots of us suffer from ailments which they call bipolar or schizophrenia because of racism, because of the pressures that we live under. And then what happens is that we can sometimes I'm learning today. I was going to say manifest, but the word is womanifest. Womanifest. I've got to learn this one as well because I like that. I'm proud of being a man, but I'm not proud of patriarchal system. So we sometimes have to learn how to manage those other voices which aren't ancestral, but are kind of like fighting within ourselves. I find many of those Africans who we say have got mental health issues are often the most spiritually inclined and connected people on this planet. But what happens is that we are not, the space we're in is so toxic to them, they can't function in it clearly. I have friends who when I'm with them, we can reason, we can travel to different universes, we can, you know, the creativity is amazing. And then when a negative energy comes in the room, I see them switch. I see a side of them which which is almost, I won't say hostile, but it's quite strong. And I have to recognize that what I'm seeing in my friends also resides within me. I am just, for whatever reason, I have been gifted or blessed, and I don't take it for granted, to be able to manage it better than some. That's all it is. I have the same spirit, I have the same temperaments, I have the same potential to have all my spiritual guards slowly eroded until I don't say lose it, but I become fire. And I know from being a child that I know what my temper is like. And it's taken me different stages of rites of passage to control that temper. And I manifest that energy as positivity for my people. I manifest it in a way and womanifest it in a way that actually even challenges the actions of men who are actually actively oppressing women. So it makes me unpopular in those circles. But the agenda is to bring us together. That's my purpose. I don't need to ask apology from them. So a perfect example, and then I can hear myself speaking too much again now. A perfect example is, and I don't speak often on this. I think I've spoken about this issue for far too long. In 2007, for example, when I'm actually doing community work, I'm inside a place of ritual. So it's not my deity, it's not my creator, but I am respectful in a place of religious worship because I recognize everyone has, they manifest, womanifest the spirits in their own form. I have anthropological training. I'm happy to accept that. I don't need everyone to bow down before the ancestors in the form and the creator in the form that I see them. I'm an Ogun spirit. If people understand that, great. If they don't understand that, that's equally great. But I am an Ogun spirit. What they believe has no difference to me. So they placed this Ogun spirit, they invite me, which I turned down and rejected this invitation, into a place where it's going to actually apparently honor our ancestors. And this was in 2007, in West. Pardon? The government. I received, I say the government, a government office. I received, it was quite strange actually. I mean, I don't want to label that, but I received a letter through the post as a community worker saying something's going to happen inside Westminster Abbey. You're going to have the monarch, you're going to have the government, you're going to have all these things there. And I, for one moment, because I'm an optimistic type of person, thought, perhaps this government might actually do something mature.
This is a global broadcast, so this is the UK government.
The UK government, my apologies. So I assume the UK government might do something emotionally mature and perhaps apologize for my offer. It might recognize it needed to atone and start the journey towards reparation. But the first time I got the letter, I put it in the bin. And it was other Legali members who said, Toyin, you know what? They knew me and they were all on side. They said, you know what? No, that's it. They put it in the bin and we all laughed. Then the letter came again. And then they said, I remember we had this discussion, how on earth did they know that I'd put the first letter in the bin to send me a second letter? And so we had a discussion and we decided, okay, you know what? We are a community organization, so we need to be present and I will take notes. And that's all I went down there to do. And just as happens in other circumstances, when I see young Africans being assaulted on the street, in that particular arena, the instruments of state, the architects of Ma'afa, were looking to conduct a ritual with the spiritual energy of 2,000 African people, because we were there present inside the venue called Westminster Abbey, to elevate their own architects of doom, the William Wilberforces of this world, to take our spiritual, and that, when Dr. Tisa's talking about, kind of like some things that you can just wipe off with a whiteboard because they mean nothing. This was the opposite, wasn't it? This would take so much spiritual energy from us. It would take, all those Africans that are there, all the Africans that are watching, because it's a live broadcast internationally, and push it into the future to scar our children for generations to come. And so I'm there, and the ancestors are in my head. I know it sounds very strange, and I'm trying to write notes. I'm writing what's going on as a reporter, and they're saying, you cannot be here. And everyone else is just bowing down, singing hymns, and I'm writing notes, and they're just saying, you cannot be here. And so my ancestors speak to me, they tell me, leave. So I left. The challenge is, for a Eurocentric system, is that I'm an African man who's connected to spirit. And so I cannot leave through the back door like if I'm a naughty school child. I have to leave through the front. And essentially, that's what happened. I left through the front. They used violence against me. I'm not really a turn the other cheek kind of brother. I left through the front the same way I came in.
My brother. Okay. I knew he was family, Just saying. This the same ethnic group right here. Oh, okay.
So, no. I mean, that's and I think we do this all the time. I think the challenge is that we forget who we are. That's all that happens. We have been so used to being taught to suppress those voices. When we hear it, when our spirit, in the comics, it's like Spider-Man they call it a spider sense. So he says, my spider sense is tingling. We know what these are. We sense them, but we're frightened.
Yes, and I mean, I know because of the work that I do, because people will speak of things like toxic spaces, where they know that they are somewhere and they're being told something and they don't follow through. What happens if you don't follow through is that you become ill. Yeah. You see, and beloved Queen Mother, Sister Dr. Tisa, I mean, I know you're actively involved in a very explicit way in healing work, in healing the work of trauma. I know also, Brother Dr. Toyin, you are also involved in healing work, different ways of coming at it, but certainly it's about recognizing that as African people, we get information or the environment affects us in a certain kind of way. And we need to be protected, or we need to have a place where when we check in, that it's not Eurocentric people saying, you ancestors? What ancestors? You're hearing ancestors? There's something wrong with you. Let us take you away for your own safety. No, there's nothing wrong. Where the problem is when you don't hear the ancestors, that's where there's the problem. That's when you're not being yourself. If you're not in touch with your ritual, with your heritage, with your future, with your present, with your purpose, what are you actually doing? You just wandering around the place waiting for someone to exploit you so they can get rich. Either they'll lock you up and you will do labor, you will fund the system, or you will be put somewhere where someone else can have bits of you, either your labor or your organs. Oh, don't let me start that. You know, this is not a new thing. This is not a new thing. This is something that has been going on for generation after generation after generation. And so hearing you speak, many people will know of you because of that incident. Just call it an incident. To me, it's more than an incident. It actually sparked and ignited in a lot of people something that it's almost like they've been waiting for someone to get up and say, we've had enough of this. We can't, what is this? But when you did it, it just marshaled, it was like a call to action. It just marshaled, I'm reminded of the murder of George Floyd. It just ignited a lot of people and it just marshaled them to be ready for the call. They don't know what they're supposed to do except to respond to it. And so many of us are not sure what will happen when we leave. They have no real idea about building legacy. They know about building other people's legacy. So we'll work in other people's institution. We work with other people's organization. We give of ourselves to other people. They tell us things like, you will not have children because you have fibroids. Now, all you went in there to do was to tell them you've broken your nail.
It's true.
Become vulnerable to the trauma. I wonder if you could both, and let me just check in with Dr. ChenziRa, because you know she keeps the train.
I am fine because you have kept this in the place that it needs to be kept. There's so many dynamics that what I would have most humbly requested would be that let us just take a moment and listen to a poetic piece that provides some truth to power in terms of what has been going on, because we've been saying it and we're saying it in a different way. So I like to pull on some music that has the lyrics that provide some clarity on even what we think we feel and what we believe we should know.
I might tell you about things you don't really care about. I might talk about some things that you never yet hear about. But them kind of things I can't fret nor fear about. I got things that need to be said and get here out. So if you touch us on our mind, time to clear out. I about to tear out. The things that might make you pull your hair out. I don't care if I wear out my voice. Let the truth of my whispers rise above the noise and confusion. From TVs and radio stations, devices of brainwashing and mind manipulation, causing mutated manifestations of Manipura chakras, possessing the souls of black folk with the spirit of Bakras. In these times, the crackers control the wit from control towers by remote through microchips slipped into your brains during hours of soaps and sitcoms. They tell you it means situation comedy, but really it means sit and comply completely with the mindsets, attitudes, and values of the prevailing system. Electronic Valium to quell the people's thirst for freedom. You see them, men who should be kings like Simba, fashioning themselves as clowns like Pumbaa. Men who should be warriors like Ganga Zumba and Zumbi, fashioning themselves as gangster zombies, cannibalizing the flesh of their own communities. Living dead say they rep blue or red, but it's really white that rules their heads. Some even call themselves dreads and gangster ras. What the ras are hearing? What must happen to the flock when the shepherd is a leopard who refuses to change his spots, who will do anything to keep his spot in the spotlight? Something is not right. Music is a sustainer of life, but how can we survive feeding on vibes which emphasize the taking of lives of others like us on the inside of hard times, and advertise on behalf of guys who never buy from us unless they buy us? Music is such a rush, but something got to be wrong when every love song is really an ode to lust. That why Viagra sell out, corn enough for them pipes bust from the pressure. Music is supposed to be joy and pleasure, but it will bring doom when every tune is about jam and waist walking. Got children partying in mental chains, so their feet are fast, but their minds are shuffling. Nothing will help you when the rhythms you dance to, the beats you go into trance to, fail to advance you in any way and romance you away from yourself. Your spirit wants to find heaven, but your brain is imprisoned behind 16 bars.
It gives us an opportunity to take all of what we were saying and navigate. And I know each and every one of us can find that selection that actually builds on what we were saying and what we're feeling, and what we live and what we experience. And it's to navigate in the most methodical way possible, giving all these limitations and asking our ancestors, the Netera, by all the names we give the Creator, the Creatrix, so that we are empowered and strengthened and protected enough to do this next layer of work. That's why having each and every one of us in this sphere is powerful. And to be able to offer a voice of not just the complaint. That's the thing about building lit, because we could talk about what's wrong till forever, forever, forever.
What have we got to do? Let's get busy, people. Let's get busy. The time is past, not even the time.
No, right, it's beyond past. You're absolutely right, Sister Doctor.
And that's been doing the work.
Exactly. And if you're not sure, and that's what also is another charge to brothers and sisters that are listening, tuning in, hearing, looking at the recording. If you don't know where to start, ask someone.
Yes.
And just know that sometimes, even if, for example, if you were to reach out to any of us here on this broadcast, if we don't respond the first time you send something, it has a lot to do with knowing that we're doing the work to build legacy. So it's not like we just kind of sit back and wait
Doesn't
for
know.
you to like send an email or send a text message or
We're waiting
send
for your particular email.
because we're doing like the full-time regular, and then we're doing the full-time community activism, and that's a lot. And then to try to have occasional opportunities for rest, proper nutritional intake, perhaps a visit with the family occasionally. I'm just being straight that's something that we
I give thanks for your honesty. I just give thanks for your honesty because these things need to be said. You know,
each.
either people think we're sitting up here just like waiting for their call, or we're not responding to them because we just don't care. Sometimes we're stretched to the limit. So please, if you're wanting to reach us and you don't reach us the first time, please come back again and just recognize we're warriors at the cold face trying to do the thing and doing the thing, not just trying to do the thing, we're doing the thing.
Right.
I want to invite our guests to make further contributions, and those contributions are just to give you time to think. Are linked to number one, relanguaging, because we must relanguage and we are relanguaging. Now, Brother King, you did that. You recognized you needed to say universe. You're relanguaging. We're checking ourselves as we do it. Sister Dr. Tisa, you said that you have introduced language, and when we speak of the Queen, we're speaking about Queen Afua. We are all queens. Let's just be clear, okay? We have queen mothers, we have queen mothers, and we have empresses and stuff. But like, in the UK, when people say the Queen, they're talking about somebody called Regina. I think that's her name. But it's let us sit in our divinity. Let us sit in our throne. Let us wear our crowns. Let us claim that which will not necessarily be given to us by everybody, because they figure because we shop at the local supermarket that we are not royalty. You need to know who we are. It doesn't mean we're not walking among us, because we emerge from us. We are divine beings. That's what we are. So it's the relanguaging piece, but it's also what's the message you want to leave us with, because we're in the final furlong of this broadcast. So it would be good for me to know from you, Senate Doctor, who, or us to know, who was the artist whose track you just played? Come on now.
It's again, I try very hard to use the music that we have full permissions with, because or that we create. And this particular piece is called Enterslavement.
Enterslavement. Not go into, but it's a thing. Now, the internet is messing again, but the artist is Adrian Green. This artist is phenomenal. This artist is a phenomena, Adrian Green. We will have Adrian Green on this platform at some point. We're working on that, but his word sound, the power that comes with it is remarkable, quite remarkable. So let me, if I may, beloved Queen Mother, Sister Dr. Tisa.
Yes, ma'am.
It would be great to hear from you. Your
Indeed.
Around number one, relanguaging. Well, you were already doing it, but as African people doing divine work called the relanguaging piece. I mean, I know that you are are you a spoken word artist as well? I think you use music. The relanguaging piece is really important, and the message that you would want us to hear before this broadcast ends.
I'm going to speak from words that come to me and share those words. Freedom is the first word for some reason that keeps floating out here. So I'm going to snatch it down. Freedom to be ourselves, freedom to be able to manifest our divine gifts fearlessly, That's the next word, fearlessly. So we have to be, warriors are good, but it's even better to be a soldier, because a warrior acts without really knowing what the next step is. You're just acting for the moment. Good to do that, but soldier is good because you plan, calculate, and you're always ready to administrate and orchestrate any plan that you've already put into play long before the moment has met you, so you know what to do. You know who you are, and you know what to do when you meet that situation. Then administrate. It gives me the idea of organization. We have to be able to take things that we have and properly organize. I'm working on getting those things in proper order, because this is the time now where we should get rid of the excess clutter. And I just don't mean physical clutter. I'm talking about mental. Things that are unfinished, finish them. Things that are not complete, complete them.
This internet can try its darndest, but it's not going to win.
I'm hoping she'll be back soon, or both queens will be back soon.
Yeah. It's funny how I'll be hearing everything clearly and then the internet goes out. It's really something. But anyway, administrate, so let's do the organization, get things in order that need to be put in order. That's the real thing that's the most important out with that. And what I'm calling on those who are listening in is ultimately to move out on your purpose. Stop running away, Don't take on this Jonah attitude where we yeah, it cuts in and out at a really good timing here. But anyway, don't be Jonah. Don't run away from your purpose. Stay on point. Don't run in the belly of the whale. This is the whale. Make it happen. You get me? Don't run away. Make it happen. We need you. We need everybody on deck right now. The work is plenty. The workers are few. Those of us who are really moving in spirit need more who are moving in spirit. Stop running away and stop expecting us to do the work. You are part of the work. We need you to help complete the work. Even if you don't show up for the work, we'll do it, but it'd be better if you did it with us. Remember that. And that's what's so important for us. And as it cuts out and in again, proceed with love. Everything that you do, direct everything that we do with the intentional love and purpose. Time is not money. Time is art. Remember that. And those are my final, sister, So let's continue to rise up collectively and unite. It is our world, and we are going to bring it in. And we are going to live in a new, magnificent era. This new world order they're talking about is going to be our new world order. And we welcome it. We embrace it. And we are very thankful. Hard work, begets hard work and begets rewards. We've earned it. So thank you.
Thanks. Brother King, Dr. Toyin, relanguaging and your message.
So you're very quiet there, Sister Doctor. Can you repeat that again, please?
Yes, I said it would be good to hear your thoughts around relanguaging and also the message and of course, yes, what you'd want to share with us as we're in the final furlong.
Okay, the relanguaging one, I mean, that's a tricky one because the legality organization deals with terminology, so it can appear quite pedantic, and it's hard to explain it in detail in a short space of time. But there's a few things I can think of immediately. I'm talking about now when we're using language in the realm of institutions that often do us harm. We kind of need to know what language we use to challenge them and to get some kind of like accuracy in finding solutions. So often you'll hear people talking about things like anti-racism, for example. And anti-racism would be a term that's used by Western nations, Europeans, to talk about trying to stop kind of racialized oppressions. It's not useful for us as African people, because what happens is that when we're flavor of the month, such as when a tragedy like the murder of George Floyd or Sean Charles or Breonna Taylor happens, then what happens is that then our lives are given priority. And then the moment that that becomes boring or passé to them, then what happens is that the same institutions will move on to other communities. And they take a very pick and mix type approach towards this. So when we're addressing our issues, we have to be careful. If we keep using racism only, we get caught in that trap where the resources are diverted away to other causes every 5 minutes. So what affects us when we're talking from an institution level is what I would term and what other people have termed Afrophobia. And Afrophobia is quite specific. Some people would say it's anti-Black racism. But that's quite correct in the sense that the same way that anti-Semitism, for example, refers to the discrimination and oppression of Jewish people, Afrophobia refers explicitly to the discrimination, hatred, and oppression of African people. And we kind of have to claim our name sometimes. We kind of need to say, actually, we're anti-racist. We don't want oppression of anybody, and we'll work with anybody to deal with all oppression. But the problem we're dealing with today is that that's facing African people. The problem we've been dealing with yesterday is a problem that affects African people. The problem we've been dealing with hundreds of years ago is that affects African people. So whilst we're helping other causes, we want to deal with Afrophobia. Don't just talk about being anti-racist. And this is very much a difference between Malcolm and Martin Luther King. Martin Luther King, our ancestor, great ancestor, for a long time, before he was taken from us, was focused on civil rights. And so his strategy was very much about, kind of asking the power structure within nation states to do the right thing. And this, of course, never happens because the government in a country is looking after their own interests unless they're holistic and whether they're spiritually grounded. Most aren't. Most nations are obsessed with their titles and their resources and looking after their own clans. Whilst Brother Malcolm was a much more, he had a more universal approach. And so he looked at international legitimacy. So once he traveled outside America, he started speaking the language of human rights. And so therefore, you're asking for justice in the terms of people who are not under the control of the person causing the problems. So I would just say that when we're articulating our concerns, we shouldn't be thinking in national terms or civil terms. We should be thinking in the terms of that we are a sovereign people. We talk about global human rights. And so I know this is not a re-languaging per se, but it's a reorientation of how language is used and how we sometimes fall into linguistic traps and legal traps, which is where my area of expertise comes into. Yeah, I mean, there are loads of other things. I mean, some of them we know about, not referring to our ancestors as enslaved. I think the last one I probably would use in today's context would be passing the label of shame back onto the criminal.
All right.
So often what happens is that when we talk about Ma'afa and we talk about the atrocities that I've carried out, we talk about our people being, well, we don't, but often people talk about our ancestors being slaves. And we talk about the enslavers being plantation owners or masters or all these kind of nonsensical terms that give
murderers, rapists.
Yeah, exactly. And so we have to be careful with that. And we have to recognize that what they did was quite an ingenious trick. It was a linguistic and political trick. Because they were in control of the language and they were the perpetrators of the crime, they were able to reverse what I call the badge of shame and pass it on to the victim. So, for example, if you think about when a woman is raped, we don't call her a rapee. She's a woman who has been raped. When someone has been murdered, we don't call him a murderee. That's a person who's been murdered. The label of shame goes onto the criminal. So they are a murderer. That is a rapist. But in the history of Ma'afa, because the perpetrator controlled the language, then what happened was that instead of them taking the label of shame and becoming the slaver, we took the badge of shame and became the slave. It's time for us as academics, as scholars, as historians to stop doing this. We must not use the language of slave trade where we articulate this nonsense.
It's a very polite way of referring to something because we don't want certain people to be uncomfortable. My position has been for years, and you will probably know, anyone that's really listened to me will know, that I'm about tired of being polite. If somebody has to be uncomfortable, why has it always got to be us? Yeah. I think someone's going to be uncomfortable. We have to have difficult conversations, conversations. And those conversations need to put us in our rightful place. And our rightful place is that we have been exploited by you and it is enough. We don't want to be polite anymore. We want to speak it as it is. And so this is, to my mind, relanguaging. What you talk, it's the paradigm shift, but we relanguaging. We taking back the power of language when we utter it. We are exercising sovereignty over ourselves. We don't have to use the language that you use just because you used it. How about you use the language we use? Because the great disaster that nobody really wants to talk about has a legacy still. And we're about to confront it and build a new legacy. So when people start talking about slavery, I stop them like, oh, when people start talking about, excuse me, could you not say that? Because I feel offended by it. We can't continue to discuss if you keep using that term. Because if I keep doing it, I'm actually in compliance with you. I need to disrupt, we can't discuss this while you're using those terms. Stop it now.
Sure.
It will cause a problem. People will not be used to it. They will say that we are, well, I won't use some of the terms they'll use for us, but it's time that we had enough confidence to be able to say what you're saying. So what you're doing is you're relanguaging and you're triggering a paradigm shift in a lot of people who will be listening to you.
No, I share for what you said. No, that's right. And that's the biggest thing. I know it's not specifically about relanguaging or giving you a word for relanguaging. It's recognizing that we have the power.
Yes.
We define our, it's what Nomo is about the vibrations of the words that we use and understanding those concepts. And if we keep allowing those people who historically benefited and continue to benefit from our oppression to continue defining our oppression using their own terms, like trade for murder, for oppression, for kidnap, for rape, trade, as if that was somehow a moral term.
Yeah, yes.
Then what happens? We are empowering them to do so.
Absolutely. What we do is we fall in line with what they set up as the right frame. It's the wrong frame. The idea that it wasn't a crime because it was legal. Who is setting the law? The same criminals are setting the law, and we become more and more traumatized, and we become more and more pathologized because we speak out against it. We say, no, what you're saying is wrong. The reference that you have to me and mine is wrong. I will not continue in any conversation with you, we will not have any interaction as long as you keep insulting me like this, because that's what you're doing. You're insulting me. You're telling me that my work only became viable recently. Well, it was always viable because otherwise you wouldn't have stole us and you wouldn't have violated us. We were always valuable. We just didn't know the value that we had, but we now know it. So, and to me, these interactions that we're having really exposes the deceit that a lot of the wealth is built on. It really confronts in a very coherent way our displeasure. Really, like, we are not pleased You know what I mean? And people may be confused because they don't see us raising our voice or waving our hands about. We are absolutely disgusted and furious with the amount of exploitation that has taken place and the lies that have been consistently, persistently.
Yeah. Can I say, Sister Doctor, can I just say one thing on top of that as well? Just to those of you who are listening and watching the video, etc., and please, there's a real good saying, each one teach one. And it's really important that you share this and that you let others watch it and learn it. Because one thing that's happening now that many people aren't aware of is that just by speaking our truths in this public way, these conversations will traditionally be happening under a bayab tree. They'll be happening, we'll be having food, we'll be having music, we'll be dancing, we'll be smiling, but we'll be vulnerable in a safe space. But I know this is going to sound harsh, and I do take, Sister Dr. Tisa, your comments about warriors and soldiers, but we are still inside a war. We just don't conceptualize it in that way. And so the language that we're using, the fact that we're having to make ourselves vulnerable in this way, it comes at cost. We're not trying to put violence on anyone. We're not trying to cause for some bloody revolution. What we're trying to do is we're stating to our community that we need to recognize that we are worthy of love. And that begins with self. Yep. But doing this in a public space makes us vulnerable. Absolutely. All of us in this group now have committed to a state of vulnerability. We don't get paid to make ourselves vulnerable. We have to pay the costs that come with being vulnerable, and we have to have confidence that the ancestors, the Creator, will continue to bless us and give us the strength we need to continue doing that work. So if we're going to take this vulnerability, and I am so honored that you just be invited into this space by both of you, Senator Dr. ChenziRa, Sister Dr. SandRa, Sister Dr. Tisa, and I have to say your names, and I have to keep saying your names because we have to acknowledge that. So if we're going to do these kind of things, one of the things I say to people who are on our journey, the very least you can do is each one teach one. Even if you don't agree with everything yet because you're at different stages of your journey, or you just disagree, if you feel what we're saying, and I know many of you will, if you feel what we're saying, but you're a bit scared to show, out in public, you don't need to show it to the world. Just share it with somebody who will be receptive to this energy. That's all. So, sorry to say that, but I had to feel, because the passion and the energy and the righteous energy is a valuable commodity, and we're being forced to put it on this stupid platform. And when I say that, I'm talking about the internet and technology. We're doing what our ancestors had to do when they had to keep finding new ways for revolution, new ways to get rid of masses, crops. When all the different ways we had to resist so that we could still be here today to continue that fight. And we should not be having to continue this fight. Our children should be in a place right now where the struggle is not the same, where they're seeing us murdered for entertainment on television and being told that 22 years and 6 months is a just sentence for taking a life of a brother. There's all kinds of madness that they're dealing with, which when I was holding my baby boy in my hand at that time, I didn't expect to still be in the same place. Sorry.
No,
thank
please.
you.
And I know when you say sorry, you're not sorry. That's the relanguaging right there, because
it's true.
What we do is we say, I'm sorry I have to say this, but I have to say this, which means I'm not sorry. I'm being polite. It's an expression. Sorry if you feel offended, but blah, blah, blah. Like, I'm really not sorry if you feel offended. You need to feel offended. And you are quite right, brother, Dr. Toyin. There is a price that we pay for speaking the way we speak in the institutions that we are associated with, and the people that we that would like to think that we are supposed to be affiliated with. And we do this to bring healing. That's what this work is about. This work is about righting the wrong. This work is about reestablishing balance, the divine balance that there should be, that all is equal. There should be no sanctioning of the exploitation of a people simply because of their heritage or what they look like. It is totally unacceptable that certain people can get away with doing that simply because of the skin that they're in. And some of us will speak out about it. And if we don't get promoted and we don't, you know, if I'm going to become a professor, let me tell you, I would like to be appointed as professor by my community. I'm not waiting for any Eurocentric institution to give me that and to validate that, because those Eurocentric institutions are set up to do something and they're very good at doing it. That's not what my purpose is linked to. Healing, elevation, the preparation of that return to spirit, return away from this earth experience. If we're not on purpose here, there will be a price to pay. It will not be money that will be the price that is paid. There will be a consequence for not being on purpose. I would like to be in peace in this realm and the next one. So I want to be on purpose. At this point, Senate Doctor, I know you have been going and coming, but you've always been with us.
The entire time, whether I'm using 4 other devices or not. This is, I just needed to say how gracious and humbled, grateful beyond words. So I will just going to attempt to share something that would express what I have gathered. Thank you so much, Asante Duawenter, sister from another mother, Dr. Muhammad. You know, we know where that could go. And I'm very grateful.
Thank you.
Kiss all of our children for us, please, and keep doing your work and stay protected. And we're grateful that you and all of your work has been able to be shared in a very small thread tonight. And we're looking forward to having you join us and just add to the circle of those of us that build legacy. So give thanks, give thanks. I'm very grateful to you, Brother Dr. Toyin Agbetu. I feel like I've gained another brother. Please extend my most humble love and graciousness to your wife and your family for sharing you with humanity. Deserving. I'm very specific. Very specific. That is deserving, because you bring so much to us and merge you into multiple eternities. Your illuminated, majestic one, Sister Dr. SandRa Richards. I'm so humbled to be able to have this opportunity with you. And we're looking forward to more Building Legacy. Those that are listening, every second and fourth Saturday, 3 to 5 Eastern Daylight Savings, UK, 8 p.m. to 10 p.m. So bring it up, bring it up, bring it up. We're looking for more. Hope will play. The plan is for it to play as you gear up to give your closing. That's the plan. Freedom. We need freedom. Oh yes, I want freedom. I want freedom. Have a purpose in all you do. Just make sure that your purpose is true. Have a purpose in this here life, so your life ain't full of strife. live a purpose each and every day so we can live in Yahweh. I have a purpose and all you do, just make sure your life is true. Every time we walk on the streets, we see all the children crying. Our day, it seems like people are lying. Everywhere that we see on this earth is supposed to be about the birth, but it's all death. And now we have a world of confusion. I have a purpose and all you do, just make sure that your mind have a purpose in this here life, so your life ain't full of strife. Live a purpose even every day, just make sure you live in Yahweh. Have a purpose in all you do, so your life is forever true. We have to live the life of my heart so we can have reciprocity. We have to live the life like Jehuti, all intelligence is pure. If you have a purpose every day, you move along a way that's all divine. Have a purpose in all you do, so your life is true like mine. Freedom. I am so grateful that it cooperated. Thank you. Give thanks, Asante. I was a little concerned. and just sharing, how we continue to move things forward and keeping things in Ma'at. So my sister, please.
Once again, it's a beautiful experience. It is just such a beautiful, humbling experience to be in service alongside you, SntDr. When I utter those words of acknowledgement and you that I don't do so often, I pull those words and they are given to me by the universe and the most divine, because you are. And I give thanks. I give thanks for being able to do this with you. Brother, doctor. I know you may think, Sister Doctor just does this thing. She just, every time I speak to her, she does this thing. I will continue to do this thing because you are so precious and special. And your sacrifice and your diligence is second to none. I respect you hugely. I respect your household, your family, your lineage, your future. You are, it is already done that your name will be called for centuries to come. That is what will happen. Your name will be called for centuries to come, because you are worthy of that, and we give thanks. I pray for your protection always, your guidance always, and your friendship always.
Thank you. I mean, I'm always speechless when you make those accolades, because I can't exist without yourselves. I am the manifestation of yourselves. Yeah, I am you. We are together. This is it. And so everything that is done, everything that I achieve is something that we have achieved. It's just that at this particular moment in time, or wherever it is at that particular moment in time, I may be the most vocal front of it, but I am not it.
Yeah.
And that's the challenge. You know, I always like to say it's like a game of chess, and everyone plays a different role, and every single piece is valuable. And so some people think it's just about the king and the queen. No, it's about all of us. We're all kings and queens. We all have that potential. We all have that, and so I'm always honored. Your own legacy, your own, you know, divine energy has inspired me, has nurtured me, has and introduced me to my new sister, Senator Dr. I mean, that's that connection over this the ethos is real, and I can feel it, and I'm honored to be in this space with you both. And when our sister comes back as well, hopefully she does as well. That's what I'm about. That's how I don't feel alone. So, you know, in Yoruba we say "Eshe pupu," and that's a way of saying thank you very much. It's an extended thank you, and "Eshe pupu," that's how I feel. And just wishing you all a blessed, you know, week ahead. And I look forward to us reasoning again and catching up again, and being on Liberation Road together for time to come. Ashe.
Eshe pupu.
Eshe pupu.
Give thanks. Give thanks. I'm and we're looking forward to our next broadcast. It's been an honor and a privilege. And for those that forgot, in certain spaces, freedom is essential. I shall give him thanks.
Ashe.
Okay, take care.
I shall. Give me a moment.